Have you ever wondered why a brand new, exciting opportunity can suddenly make all your normal day-to-day work feel like a total chore? Well, today we're going to dive into a fascinating experiment from over 50 years ago that just might hold the answer. And believe it or not, it all comes down to a few pigeons in a box.
Seriously, think about it for a second. You're going along just fine, doing your job, checking things off your list, and then, bam, you get an amazing job offer, or maybe an idea for a side project that feels like it could change everything. All of a sudden, that routine work you were fine with yesterday feels just awful. Why is that? It's a real puzzle, but the clues, believe it or not, are waiting for us back in 1969.
Right. To figure this out, we're going to travel back in time. We're looking at a super clever psychology experiment from Harvard, run by two researchers, Howard Rachlin and William M. Baum. They wanted to get to the bottom of the basic laws of choice, effort, and reward.
And here it is, the actual paper they published. Now, their test subjects weren't people, they were 4 pigeons. And I know what you're thinking, pigeons? Really? But it's actually brilliant, because pigeons are perfect for this. They're not worried about promotions or what other pigeons think of them. They operate on pure, simple principles of effort and reward, which is exactly what these scientists wanted to study.
So what exactly did they do? Well, the setup was incredibly elegant. You can basically picture it like a tiny casino for pigeons. Inside their box, they had to make a choice. How are they going to spend their energy, their pecks, to get the biggest food payout?
The pigeons basically had 2 slot machines to play. The first one we'll call the steady earner. It was a key that was always lit up. If they pecked it, they'd get a small but totally reliable reward, 4 seconds of access to grain. It's like your steady 9-to-5 job, right? Predictable paycheck. Then there was the other key, the jackpot. Now this one was usually dark, completely inactive. But every once in a while, a red light would start flashing, and that signal meant a special reward was available. This was the wild card.
Okay, now here is where it gets really interesting. The researchers never changed the steady earner key. That reward was always the same. The only thing they messed with was the size of the prize on the jackpot key. They wanted to know how the mere possibility of a bigger, better reward would change how the pigeons felt about their main gig.
So they ran the experiment with 3 different jackpot sizes. Sometimes, the jackpot was actually tiny, just 1 second of food, even worse than their steady job. Other times, it was exactly the same, 4 seconds. And then sometimes, the jackpot was huge, a full 16 seconds of food. I mean, for a pigeon, that's like winning the lottery.
So this is the big question, right? The steady job itself never ever changed. Same work, same pay. So how would the value of this other option affect how hard they worked on their normal job? What do you think happened? Did they just ignore it? Work harder? Let's take a look.
What the researchers found was this totally unexpected thing they called an inverse relation. We can just call it the Pecking Paradox. And honestly, it's a plot twist that gets right to the heart of how our own motivation works.
Okay, you've got to see this. This is the actual data from the paper. Look at the axis along the bottom. That's the size of the jackpot, getting bigger as you go to the right. Now look at the axis on the side. That's how many pecks they made on the steady key. And look at that trend. For every single one of the 4 pigeons, it's a straight line down. The better the jackpot got, the less they worked on their reliable day job. It wasn't even close. Their effort just fell off a cliff.
So let's just let that sink in. The crucial point is that the better the alternative option became, the less the pigeons were willing to work on their totally fine, reliable job. The simple allure of a bigger prize made their existing work feel, well, worthless. Does that sound at all familiar to you?
Now the obvious question here is, hold on, were they just distracted? I mean, maybe the flashing red light was so exciting they just sat there, staring at it, waiting for it to go off, and forgot to work. It's a totally fair point. Is this about some deep motivational shift, or just a simple distraction? Well, Rachlin and Baum were way ahead of us.
And this next chart is how they proved it. This graph shows how fast the pigeons reacted when the jackpot light came on. Now, if they were just distracted and staring at the key, you'd expect them to get quicker and quicker at hitting it when the prize was bigger, right? But look at the data. The points are all over the place. There's no correlation. They weren't getting faster. This wasn't just distraction. Something much deeper was going on with their motivation to do the other work.
Okay, so let's pull this out of the 1960s science lab and bring it right into our world. Why on earth does a pigeon experiment from half a century ago matter to you? Because it uncovers a fundamental law about how we value our own time and effort.
So the researchers put it in these very dry scientific terms.
But what this really means in plain English is that how much effort you're willing to put into one thing is directly tied, inversely, to how good your other options are.
So what can we take away from this? Well, first off, your motivation isn't like a gas tank that's just full or empty. It's way more like a dynamic stock portfolio, and you're constantly, subconsciously, moving your energy around to whatever you think will give you the best return. That means you are always weighing your daily grind against the biggest jackpots in your life. That dream job, that startup, that creative passion. And when that jackpot starts to look bigger or more real, it automatically devalues the steady work. And here's the most important part. That's not laziness. It's not a character flaw. It's a completely rational hardwired brain function, recalculating where your precious energy should go. It's happening in you just like it happened in those pigeons.
And that kind of leaves us with one big question to think about. What's the big, shiny jackpot in your life right now? And what steady work, what important, consistent effort might it be costing you without you even noticing? The answer might just change how you think about your own motivation.